Here we are with episode 4 of Shop Talk at West Bend Dyno. We got Chris and Brad today. It's a real crappy day out today. It's snowing, slushy. Looks like our 2 feet of snow is going to start melting next week. Looks like we're going to get rain in 40, so that's really exciting.
Yeah, that'll be nice.
First thing on our list here is a 5th gen ZL1 that we're putting a Harp supercharger on.
Yep, we got the supercharger is installed on it now. Just doing some button-up stuff, finishing up the intercooler hoses and getting everything buttoned up on that one.
All right. Next on our list would be the 87 Trans Am. That's getting a GM E-rod swap. We've been working on that on and off here for the last year, and it's coming along here slow but sure. Parts were holding it up, and now we got mostly everything here. I think Brian was putting the radiator in today.
Yep,
finished up the exhaust.
Yep, finished up the exhaust. It's ready to come off and get the final welding done on it. Finished up the front drive, buttoning up some other wiring and sensors to make the factory gauges work. So that one's coming along really nice.
Yeah, and that was a AFCO radiator he was putting in there.
Yep.
That was a Hooker Blackheart exhaust, I believe.
Yep, a Blackheart exhaust.
And we were hooking it up to the E-rod exhaust manifolds.
And cats.
Yep, because that's all EPA compliant set up in there. And that's, we think, talked about that a little bit in the past. It's got QE1 suspension and some neat stuff underneath. Next on our list would be an older Bronco that we're doing a Coyote swap on. We're going to get that back on the roster here. We've been going back and forth with it. We had a bunch of parts that were kind of ridiculously on back order that are finally, looks like we should be seeing the end of this week, beginning of next. So excited to get that one up and running. That's a pretty cool one.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun.
The 66 GTO, that one has come along nicely. I think Brian finished, did he finish the interior stuff or waiting on something?
The interior stuff is all put in now as far as the dash, the new door panels, that customer supplied, all of that is installed now.
And the dash was through us with Dakota Digital, right?
Yeah, with Dakota Digital gauge cluster for the whole new dash insert and dash pad. We got to modify the rear seat yet to fit the mini tubs, and we're waiting on the customer to make a decision on upgrading the fuel system to go with flex fuel and possibly a supercharger down the road.
Okay, and then we have a motor run that looks like probably within a week and a half, 2 weeks we should see.
Yeah, I would say they figured the end of this week initially, but I'm thinking it's probably going to be more like towards the middle of next week.
Okay, and he was thinking about maybe doing a supercharger too, it sounded like.
He was, yep, he was.
Yeah, that's a fun one. That was some framework, suspension work, we put mini tubs, we put a new trunk floor in it, yeah, whole bunch of neat stuff, and that was like a 04, 05 GTO, I think.
05 GTO as well, yeah.
Okay. All right. Next on the list, we have the 2001 Cobra. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, Todd's Cobra came here. The engine was hurt, so basically just got a stock rebuild done to it. We're putting everything back together now. It is getting a new rear end as well, upgraded rear end parts. It had some leaks going on, so there's some new bearings, seals, axle shafts, different bushings and joints going in. So looking forward to having that one up and running here by the end of the week and ready to put on the dyno and just verify everything with the calibration.
Okay, yeah, and that one also had that Vortec head unit need to be rebuilt, so that was sent out, rebuilt back, and that's on the car now.
That's on the car now, yep.
Okay. Another neat one is the 32 Ford. We just brought the motor in here on Saturday. That was in cold storage, so that should be ready to put in.
Yep, that one is going to be ready to come in once we get this older Chevy pickup buttoned up, which I should have that done tomorrow, so we can get that in here and get started setting that motor in place and setting the supercharger back on it and getting it ready for Brian to tune.
All right. 69 Camaro. We got the red 69 with, what's it, a 5.3 in there with twin turbo?
Yep, 5.3 twin turbo. That one, it had been LS swap previously when it got here. We did a bunch of work finishing up the fuel system, tried to button up some of his existing wiring. Ended up finding out that the way it was set up was not working. The Holly was not happy with the crank trigger setup, so we switched it back to a regular crank sensor from an LS and put a new harness in it.
It had a crank trigger on it?
Had a crank trigger before, yeah.
So we don't see that very often. I don't know why they would have done that.
Yeah, not sure, but that one is all buttoned up and ready. As soon as we get the dyno open, we'll be putting that one on.
All right. And next on the list is another 69 Camaro. Actually, that customer has a 69 Camaro and a 65 Vet that we're doing. I believe the motor for the 69 Camaro is sitting out there.
Yep.
Bunch of parts sitting on the shelf, and that's at the body.
That's at the body shop right now. It's getting a bunch of stuff done as far as floor pans, dash, firewall, all that's getting done. Once that's complete, it'll come back here to get the engine installed, transmission, fuel system, EFI operating system and then tuning again, but he figured that'll be probably closer to the middle of summer before that one's coming back.
Okay, and then he also has a 65 vet that we have a bunch of parts that are sitting here for.
Yep, that's an
kind of a
LS
similar
swap as
situation.
well. Right now it's getting modifications done to the tunnel and the body for T56 swap, and then it's going to come back here with the chassis roll. We'll put the fuel system in, engine and trans, and get everything done that we can until the body's ready to go back on.
Excellent. And next I see here we have I forget what year this is, not on here, that old Jeep that we put a
2010
yeah.
Wrangler, yep.
We did a Jasper replacement.
Jasper rebuild
with
and
what type of
rip supercharger.
Rip supercharger, and then came in and had some vacuum leaks or something.
Yeah, he had some little vacuum leaks that we had to address. He had some other little minor mechanical things that came up with being an older vehicle. So just been addressing them as things progress here and getting it ready so you can get it back.
Excellent. We got the 72 K10, the LS swap K10 that's trans is getting rebuilt.
Yep,
so
it's
pretty
trans is at ATD, and last conversations I had, that should be ready for us to pick up by the end of the week. So I actually just spoke with the customer today and updated him on that as well. And he's excited to get that back here, get the trans in it, get some new injectors installed, and then it's ready for the dyno for Brian for tuning.
Oh, that's right, that was getting injectors too.
Yeah.
What was the reason for that? They're too small.
They're too small.
Okay. And that thing, you bought that, I believe, from an auction, right?
We bought that from
Derek
Derek
Saxon.
Saxon,
Okay. And then we have the older Chevy truck. You're finishing the calibration or the fuel system on it.
Fuel system, yep. Yeah, it had some issues with the carburetor and fuel system. Found some wiring issues as well that we're addressing. It's got an electric fuel pump that's been wired into it. So taking care of that now, and we should be firing it up tomorrow.
All right. And then behind us, we have the 69 Camaro Todds. We're working on that calibration, but we keep running into little things, right, to keep popping.
Yeah, it came in for a calibration, and it ended up running into some issues with the converter. It had an older stall converter in it, no miles, but Brian was fighting on that one. We put a new converter in it from ATD, and that seemed to address that issue. And then the next problem that crept up was a charging system. Alternator ended up.
Sounded like the customer went to bat and got a bunch of
alternators.
alternators.
He got a bunch of alternators. He ran into a lot of problems with the weather that we had last week. I believe by the time all's said and done, we'll have 4 alternators here from him. So, but we got one of the right ones here and installed. So charging system was fixed on that end. But again, as things seemed to go, Brian started making some minor adjustments and running it so he can get some logs on it, and we started running into issues with the cooling system. The water pump doesn't appear to be keeping up. Now we've got a coolant leak, which the customer doesn't know about yet.
He will shortly.
Yep, as well as some other issues with it. It's got a voltage drop somewhere. As soon as it gets hot and heat soaked, it's actually shutting the car down, and then it won't restart until it cools off. So there's some wiring that we're seeing that needs to be upgraded, and some other things that we need to dig into, or the customer needs to dig into.
Commonly, stuff that we run into when we get a car in for calibration is we run into all these little gremlins that pop
Yep.
up and makes it a pain in the butt, and you gotta keep getting back to the customer, get authorization, and sometimes it looks like, oh, well, I didn't do it before, but it's just the nature of the beast.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
And Todd's been very, very understanding with everything, so
That's good.
he gets it.
That helps when the customer understands.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have the 2023 Durango. Sounds like that's done. We got brake
Yeah,
lines that were
everything was
back order
done.
finally came in, and now it's got to get on the
Yep,
street.
those showed up. Just a heads up for anyone that's ever gonna do brake lines on any of these newer late model Mopars. It's right in the instructions with the brake hose manufacturer. You should actually have a M10 by 1.0 pitch die to run over the factory tube nuts, because they are made of a soft material, and when you back them out of the factory hoses, it actually rolls them over. So we had to do that and chase them before we could put the
Did
new.
you forget to tell the guys that they can't work while we're doing this?
Apparently, yeah.
He didn't do that all day. He's waiting for us to do our shop talk.
But yeah, we got all those are on now. System is bled. We're a little short on brake fluid. I thought we had more here, and we're probably about a quart short. So we'll finish up bleeding out the system and get the wheels back on, and hopefully by the end of this week, the roads are cleared up enough that we can do our street drives and get the brakes bedded.
All right. And then we have C10 that the shop owns sitting in here that we were actually going to possibly sell to a customer and finish it. If not, never know, you might see it at the street drags this year, but I'm sure we'll have a little bit of footage of that on here. And then we have the 2021 Silverado. I think the customer was just in today.
Yeah, he was in this morning. He had purchased a Pulsar unit and basically had it installed and was having some issues with it not setting monitors to pass emissions. So Brian actually worked with him directly over the phone, set it up to have him come in. We got everything as far as checking monitors, and with it removed, all the monitors were set. Brian installed everything again, updated it, and everything appeared to be working, but there in the background, it wasn't allowing, I believe it was the fuel monitor. It was not allowing that to run that monitor. So reached out to Holly, and they were more than happy to have us either send that unit in, depending upon when it was bought, or and they would look at it, or they would send a new one. I guess we'll find out where things end up with that one.
Yeah, that was a customer that we do see a lot of, and we don't really have any control with, but we actually gave him a quote and did some behind the scenes stuff for the guy as far as what to
as
use.
far as looking up all the part numbers, and then he ended up
Buying
decided he was
somewhere
going to buy it somewhere else, and now he's got a problem. And if he would have bought it through us, he would have paid for the install, but he wouldn't be paying for all the troubleshooting and pulling the thing out and putting it back in a second.
Yeah, initially, I mean, if something happens down the road, we can't be responsible for everything,
Right.
but we'll work with you. If you buy the parts from us, we're way more apt to help you out versus, and not charge you versus if you didn't buy it from us. So always helps to buy the parts from us if you're gonna have us work on it. And I think that's all we got on the list. For more information, head to our website at westbenddyno.com. You can give us a call at 262-692-9035. We also have a messenger set up right on our website through Facebook, so you can talk to us through there. You can stop in anytime if you have a question on your hot rod that you're working on, or you're looking for some parts, you'd like us to work on it. But yeah, we're always looking to help everybody out and share our knowledge